Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, since the COVID pandemic of 2020, people's attitudes towards work have changed a lot and it started out very positive. The rise of remote work gave people more time to do what they want. Pandemic aid gave people time and money to change careers, and labor shortages gave employees more benefits. However, as they say in England, all good things must come to an end. And more recently, our attitudes towards work has become more negative, where we had the Great Resignation, the trend of quiet quitting, and companies demanding workers to return to the office. Lately, we've been seeing this trend where it seems like no one wants to work anymore. And why is that? Well, some people would say that people are entitled, lazy, and don't want to grow up. However, I think that the reason is much deeper than that. I think the reason is because of this complex, advanced world that we're living in. And in this video, I want to give my opinion on this topic and talk about 7 reasons why people's attitudes towards work has become more negative. And the first reason is people just don't want to be treated like shit. So let me start off just by stating the obvious. When you treat your employees with respect and dignity, they will treat their jobs with respect and dignity. However, when you treat your employees like shit, they will be miserable and despise their job. And there are certain industries that are always having trouble finding employees because they treat their employees like shit. For example, fast food restaurant chains are always having trouble finding employees. And what is it about this industry that makes it so hard to find people? Well, they pay low wages. Corporate structures put shareholder profit over employee well-being, and angry customers create a hard environment to work in. And there are many other industries like this. Many companies have had this long belief that you're lucky to have a job here, and more recently, employees are fed up with it. The problem nowadays is not that people don't want to work, but people don't want to work jobs and in industries where they're treated like shit. People just want to feel valued and respected. Yet so many companies don't understand that and just say that people are lazy and entitled. Now, the second reason is that people are sick of being treated like pieces of data. So as I just said, when the pandemic first started, certain things changed about how we work, like remote work, which created a much more positive attitude towards work. However, one side effect of remote work was that companies wanted to know what their employees were doing and started to collect data on them through things like productivity trackers, detailed calendars full of meetings, and even monitoring them. The pandemic made tech a big part of our lives, which created this work culture that was about maximizing productivity and efficiency, which in theory is good. However, human beings are complex emotional creatures with baggage, emotions, and limitations. And when you treat them like pieces of data, naturally they're going to get upset. The problem of today's world is not that people don't want to work, but we're living in this tech-run world where we're now putting these expectations on human beings that they should run and operate with the efficiency as computers. And it set these unrealistic expectations on workers where they feel like little pieces of data, which has ultimately created a society that is burnt out and stressed out, and nobody wants to work in this system. Now, the third reason is most jobs don't have a clear purpose anymore. When you look back only 100 years ago, jobs people had were very simple and their purpose was very clear. Like a farmer would grow vegetables, a nurse would help the sick, and a teacher would teach. And I think that when people know the purpose of their job and see the impact of their work, they feel happier because they have a sense of purpose. However, now we live in a much more complex world where the purpose of most jobs isn't clear. Most people work jobs at computers where the purpose often feels like increasing profits for the company. And although it helps the economy, it doesn't leave people with a sense of satisfaction like it did before, like they're just working for a paycheck. The problem of today's world is that we have gotten so advanced that although our quality of life has increased and we're making more money, most of our jobs don't have a clear purpose, which makes many people feel empty inside. And many people have trouble going to work day after day because they don't feel a sense of purpose from their jobs. Now, the fourth reason is hard work equals more work. When I was 16 years old and had one of my first jobs, I learned one of the most powerful life lessons I will never forget. You see, what happened was every weekend, me and another person would open up the line at this bakery. But one day, the other person quit. And the manager said, "We're looking for a new person, but just open it by yourself for now." And so I would work twice as hard to open the line, and a month later I asked, "Have you found another opener?" And they said, "You seem to be fine by yourself." And from then on, I opened up the line by myself, and the crazy thing was, I was now doing the work of two people, but still getting paid like one person. And it was that moment when I learned an important life lesson. Hard work equals more work. And I think that everyone eventually learns this lesson, that the harder you work, the more work you're going to get. It doesn't pay to work hard in this world because we're living in a dog-eat-dog world. And I think that what eventually happens to hard workers is that they become jaded, where they either choose to just work for themselves or keep their heads down. And I think that people don't want to work, or at least work hard, because hard work doesn't pay off. Hard work just equals more work. So why work hard? Now, the fifth reason is employees' wages have stagnated, while CEOs' wages have skyrocketed. So let me show you this crazy trend that we've been on in this last few decades. In 1964, a CEO made 20 times what their employees made. Which isn't too crazy, and of course a CEO should be making more than their employees. But in 1994, a CEO made 87 times what their employees made. Still not too crazy, but in 2021, a CEO made 399 times what their employees made. Which is substantially different, and there's nothing inherently wrong about that until you see how wages have grown in the last few decades. For example, in 1964, the average hourly salary was $2.50, and in 2018, it was $22.65. And if you were to look at that, it would seem like wages have been increasing over time. However, when you factor in inflation, that $2.50 in 2018 money is $20.27, which isn't much growth at all. No one wants to work anymore because over the last few decades, we have seen CEO wages skyrocket. 399 times their employees. Whereas for the average worker, wages have stagnated, not much growth at all. Just as I said earlier, people don't want to be treated like shit, but when you treat them like shit and never increase their wages, increase your own wage, people end up despising their jobs. Now, the sixth reason is everything is owned by corporations hungry for endless profits. So if you watch my channel, you know that I lived in a small country in South America called Ecuador. And hopefully you guys don't mind me talking about it a lot because that experience gave me a lot of perspective on my own country because Ecuador and the US are very different. It's these experiences that allow me to churn out video after video, week after week. I got a lot of stories, ladies and gentlemen. But one big difference between cultures is how business is viewed. Where normally in Ecuador, an individual will start a small business. And the business will only grow beyond a certain point. The goal is to make a living. Which is very different from the American idea of business, because we Americans will start a business that will grow and grow and grow. And we want it to continue to grow because our goal is to chase bigger profits every year. And I think that when you compare these two views, the Ecuadorian approach is all about enough, whereas the American approach is all about more. And this American way of life has ultimately created a society where everything is owned by large corporations, hungry for larger profits every year. And I think that nobody wants to work anymore because it's exhausting to work in this system. It's a journey without a destination. As I said, this system has made the purpose of most people's jobs to maximize profits. And I think that people are burnt out from working in this system where their goal is to chase profits year after year to feed the soulless corporate machine in their profits that they will never see. Now, the final reason is jobs aren't everything. So recently there has been this movement of people not wanting to work anymore. But the truth is, has anyone ever really wanted to work? Seriously, has there ever been a time in history where people just loved working? I mean, in feudal Europe, when people were doing back-breaking work, did they say, "Lord Farquaad, I desire to come in on Saturday"? Of course not. Jobs are jobs, and the number one reason that we all have jobs is to make money and use that money to fund our lives. It's not the only reason, but it's the main reason. However, since we were children, we were told a much different story. We were told, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And what happens when we're told this is that people spend so much of their energy trying to get satisfaction from their jobs and end up feeling unsatisfied in life. And I think that people are starting to see that jobs aren't everything. Jobs are just one way that you can get satisfaction in life, but you can also get it through hobbies, relationships, and other things. It's not that people don't want to work anymore, but it's that people are realizing that jobs aren't everything, and they're trying to find satisfaction in life elsewhere. Because why dedicate your entire being to some soulless corporation that would lay you off the second a profit decreases by a fraction of a percent? And those are the 7 reasons why no one wants to work anymore. And with that, muchas gracias. Que tengan un buen día. Nos vemos, chicos.